Every day, more and more Russians arrive in the former Soviet Republic of Georgia, and this has not gone unnoticed, since the sudden influx of Russian citizens is having a major economic and political impact. By March 7th, well over 20,000 Russians had fled to Georgia, and by March 21st, it had gone up to well over 30,000. Now, these Russians have plenty of serious reasons for fleeing Russia, since just talking about the war could land you in jail for up to 15 years. If you got paid by a foreign company, you can't receive a salary anymore. The military draft could call at any time for you to go and fight in a pointless war with a high probability of never returning. And to top it all off, there is a complete breakdown of the Russian economy with surging food prices, shortages, and the crashing ruble. So it's quite understandable that those who can are choosing to leave, and at this rate, it won't be too long before well over 100,000 Russians will call Georgia their new home. Now, this exodus does not come without problems, the first of which is where are all these people going to live? Because when you have such an extreme influx of people with means to a relatively cheap country, the economic effects are disastrous for the locals. In the beginning, Airbnb rates began to skyrocket, which is mainly a problem for tourists. However, as restrictions in Russia got worse, more and more people wanted to stay long term, and this meant that rents started to more than double. Places that you could normally rent for $200 to $300 are now going for $500 to $700. It has become an absolute Wild West, and pricing is not the only problem. You see, when demand is this high in such a short amount of time, you can't simply build new houses that fast to solve the problem, which means that you need to reclaim existing houses, and that's exactly what's going on. Many students and young professionals that are renting apartments in Tbilisi are being evicted or threatened with eviction if they can't pay more rent. For the majority of students, paying an extra $100 or $200 a month is simply too much, and even young professionals in Tbilisi can't pay the rents that the new Russians can. You see, even though the majority of Russians only make about $400 to $500 a month, these are not the Russians that are fleeing the financial sanctions and restrictions put in place by the Russian government. The Russians that are fleeing are either well-off business owners or young professionals working for foreign companies, often in remote jobs. This means that not only can they work from anywhere and continue to have a good salary, but most of them were already living in expensive cities like Moscow or St. Petersburg, where they were already paying rents of $500 to $900 a month. Before we continue, please like and subscribe to support the channel. So for these Russians, paying $700 a month to live in a relatively free country where they can still do their job, say what they want, and have access to Western products and services is a very small price to pay. However, for the locals, the doubling of rent is a massive burden, and that's not all that's going on. Many locals are seeing the massive influx of Russians as a real safety concern, and this is not without reason. You see, President Putin has used the excuse of protecting Russians abroad to go into Ukraine, and if there's a huge buildup of Russians in Georgia, he could use the same excuse again. These fears, combined with other problems, has shifted the sentiment in the Georgian economy from a very open and welcoming country to a call for closing its borders to Russian citizens and restricting visa-free access. It has led to the Georgian banks refusing Russians when trying to open a bank account, something that used to be very easy and straightforward, as well as many businesses refusing service to Russian customers. Buying real estate in Georgia is also becoming a major problem, since not just Russians but also people from Belarus are buying up more and more properties. Some are doing this to protect their assets from international sanctions, while others are simply looking for a safe place to live. This was Fleeing Russians Disrupt the Georgian Economy. Please like and subscribe for more videos.